It doesn't need a specialist to know about this, but what they did the complete opposite. And the way they did it is it's gonna ruin my like the look of it. It's all pointing towards the top. So okay, so hello and welcome everybody. In my last video, I went over how I counted the number of grafts after my hair transplant surgery in Turkey and how I found out I was being scammed, or how I found out I got scammed by BlueMagic Group hair transplant professionals. Now, BlueMagic Group had quoted me 4,600 US dollars to transplant 5,000 grafts in 2 sessions. However, if you watched my last video, you'll see that I found there were only 2,700 grafts that had been transplanted, which could have been done in 1 session. So they scammed the shit out of me. They ripped me off. They did me super dirty because they charged me for 2 sessions. They made me endure the pain and trauma of like 2 sessions for work that could have been done in one. So I got in touch with some of the officials and directors at BlueMagic Group, including the CEO, who all continued to lie to me and they continued to contradict me. They continued to deny that there was any wrongdoing in this case. They say this is what 5,000 grafts look like, and they won't take no for an answer, even when I keep showing them proof that this is wrong and it's full of shit. So, which I understand. I totally get it. These guys, when, like, if they were to reimburse me, to refund me, or bring me back to fix it, then it's pretty much admission of guilt, then they take an accountability for the wrongdoing. And first of all, according to the CEO himself, 80% of their clients are coming from Canada and the US, like that's 12 to 14, 15 hours away. So when someone, if word gets around that they did this and they took accountability and admit to wrongdoing, I assume like a lot of their main clients would think again and reconsider using this clinic for the service that they provide. So they're obviously not gonna admit to it. Not to mention it's against the law. It's medical malpractice. It's breach of contract. It's misrepresentation, and it's negligence. Because it's unfair. What they did is not fair to me. I spent 2 years of my life saving up, preparing for this procedure, trying to, and it's $4,600. That's 6,500 Canadian dollars, not including my plane ticket, not including the time that I had spent saving up, and not including the time that I have to wait for these results to show up before I can even consider a repair surgery for these botched results. It's only been 2 months, like 8 weeks now. So, but what I say when I say botched is because they lied to me. They had promised me full coverage and density all the way across to the line here, and now I know that. Initially I didn't know. I thought at first I thought these was good results until I got back and I had a better chance to look at it, and I was more worried about the hairline, to be honest, because they didn't do it properly. But if you've seen the thumbnail, you can see that they completely botched my hairline. But when I got back, my hair wasn't even growing at the time because they shaved it all the way down. By the time I got back, like 3 days after these pictures were taken as soon as I got back to Canada, then I could see these gaps here. I was like, what the heck, bro? Like, I spent all this time, I spent all these years, all this money, and they left me with all these gaps here. Like, come on, bro. Especially here and here, like now as soon as my hair starts to thin out around these edges, what's gonna happen is it's gonna look patchy as hell. It's gonna look super bad. Unless of course I get on medication, which was one of the reasons why they sold me on this. They promised me, they even recommend against taking medication. So I was expecting that I would get full coverage and I don't have to worry about medication for at least like 10 to 15 years. And by the time I can just do a touch-up surgery to maintain my results. So 5,000 grafts would have been more than enough to cover this whole area around the lines that they drew. But you can see, if I zoom in here, you can see all this area is like very sparse. There's like 20 grafts here. And the other side too, if you take a look, there's like 20 grafts here. This area right here probably needs 100 grafts on each side. The amount of grafts is nowhere near enough, especially because as my hair loss progresses, as the hair follicles continue to miniaturize, this area is going to look so like patchy. It's going to look so sparse. It's going to be just a few hairs here, which is going to force me to go back for corrective surgery, which is completely unfair. The thing is, I chose this clinic because they told me 5,000 grafts would get me full coverage across my whole scalp. That's what I was expecting. That's what they promised me. But I'm really upset because if you see my last video where I count the number of grafts and the donor area that had been harvested, there's around 1,000 grafts missing from my donor area which are not accounted for. So they depleted my donor area and there's 1,000 grafts missing, which 1,000 grafts, if you take a look at here, there's 186. Let's say 200. If you multiply that by 5, there would be more than enough to cover all of this area and give me proper density all the way around. Now, or even if you take a look here, my hairline got pushed back. They pushed my hairline back by about close to a centimeter, like maybe 7 millimeters or 8 millimeters, somewhere around there. 1,000 grafts, like 500 grafts would be more than enough to fill in this whole area, and the other 500 could be more than enough to fill in my mid scalp region. So, you know, to increase the density, for example, or could have been used to fill in the back or whatever it might be. So if anybody's like thinking about using this clinic, if anybody's considering them, I highly advise you to reconsider. I do not recommend using BlueMagic at all. They will destroy your donor area. They will steal your money. Just go look at the negative reviews on Google Maps and on their Trustpilot. There are so many people saying don't use them, and they lie about the number of grafts. Even I left a couple reviews, on the Google Maps and on the Trustpilot. But as soon as I placed my negative review, like within 2-3 days, there was like 5 other positive reviews. These guys all their reviews on the Google Maps, all the positive reviews are fake. They completely lied to me. They scammed the shit out of me. They did me super dirty, like as you can see. And one of the things when I say negligence as well is because you see all these grafts here. I'm not a specialist. I'm not a surgeon. I'm not a technician. I don't do this for a living. But I can clearly see all these natural hairs are pointing this way, right? And their angles is probably really, really low. However, all these grafts, the majority of them have been and I'll put a picture so you can see. However, all these grafts, they're not pointing towards the correct way. They're pointing towards the opposite way, matching these ones. So all these grafts here, they're pointing that way. They're pointing that way, going with the flow of these ones. And if I put a line here, you can see all these grafts. Here, let me just delete these. So if there's a line here, all these hairs, because you can see the whirl is going this way, the whirl is going this way, all the way around. So these hairs are all supposed to be going that way, and then past this line, they're all supposed to be going this way. Now, I'm not a specialist, but I can see this. Even an untrained eye can see it. It doesn't need a specialist to know about this, but what they did the complete opposite. And the way they did it is it's gonna ruin my the look of it. It's all pointing towards the top. So anything below this line is supposed to be pointing the other way. But they destroyed my hair. Now, I already seen a surgeon. He looked at it. He looked at the pictures and he said, "Yep, this is the wrong direction." And not to mention a bunch of these ones here. Even these ones here, all the ones that they've transplanted, and here, they're all at the wrong degrees. They're like 90 degrees pointing upwards. And I don't get it. I don't understand why they do that. Like, they're supposed to be professionals. They're supposed to have some work ethic. These guys have no remorse. They don't want to take accountability. They have no empathy. So yeah, obviously these guys, they would never admit to any wrongdoing. They'll never take accountability for any mistakes that happen. Although I doubt it was a mistake, I'm pretty sure they did it on purpose because they were just rushing the job, trying to get me in and out of there. Like, they are a hair mill after all. They are young, inexperienced technicians who could care less about you or your future. But one thing I wanted to touch on is, like, if they were to say I don't have enough donor area or they don't want to overharvest, first of all, I mentioned earlier in my last video, they overharvested and there's 1,000 grafts missing. Those 1,000 grafts could have been used. So it's not a matter of there wasn't enough grafts. It's a matter of inexperience and negligence. And the fact that BlueMagic Group, they hire young, inexperienced technicians who really don't have much skill. And the second thing is I have a lot of beard hair, which could have been used instead of my scalp hair. You know, they could have used my beard hair and saved some of my scalp hair for the future if that was an argument as well. You know, they want to save some of my hairs for the future. I have a thick beard. They could have used my beard hair to save my scalp hair. So do not use BlueMagic Group. I highly recommend against using BlueMagic Group. They're terrible people. If you value your money, if you value honesty, if you want like proper people to work on you, especially on an area where you can't see, unless like I don't have eyes in the back of my head, you know, I can't see what they're doing. So if that's something that matters to you, if you value your integrity, then do not use this clinic.